Okay, so good evening and welcome. So my name is Amy Ketch. I'm one of the assistant principals at the high school. Um, and I'd like to welcome you to our senior parent night. It's hard to believe it's already September 30th. We are rolling through this year already. Um, so this is the first time we've ever done our senior parent night virtually. Typically, we would have all been in the cafeteria. We would have given you a packet full of papers. So if you would like copies of tonight's handouts, we can get those to you in an electronic form. Your students will all get copies of them, and Mrs. Kaketch will talk about that in a little bit, how we plan to give students their paperwork that they need. So I'll quickly introduce the people that I have with me. Typically, I'd have them introduce themselves, but it's a little awkward in this format. So my name is Amy Ketch. As I said, I'm one of the assistant principals. Kim Ketch is one of our school counselors. She works with students whose last names are A through K. Jamie Martell is our other school counselor. She works with students at the other end of the alphabet. And then we also have Meredith Lee with us from the University of Maine, and I'll explain her role in just a second. As we sent out the information for our senior parent night, we sent out information for the FAME website. FAME is the Finance Authority of Maine, and they support families in applying for financial aid through what's called the FAFSA, which is the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which is a document that is kind of a rite of passage. Every parent of a kid going to college has to complete it. Even if you think you're not going to get anything, a lot of merit aid and other scholarships are tied to the fact that you have completed that. And it's a document that you'll complete every year that your child is in school. So the FAME website has some videos, has some information. Typically, Mila Tappan would have been here with us to do the second half of our night and kind of do a little blurb for us as well. But they had done 7 or 8 sessions on their own. So we really felt like we didn't want to make Mila do it all over again. So strongly recommend that you look at the FAME website. But because we have a grant through the Melmac Foundation, we have a really great opportunity to partner with Meredith, who works in financial aid at UMaine, and through the grant works individually with our parents. So if you are not financially savvy, or the just thought of completing this document really makes you nervous, she is the one for you to be able to kind of hold your hand and help you to complete it. Kim and I both, as our first kids were going through, worked with Meredith as well, having done this for years, just to have that extra pair of eyes to look at it and say, yes, yeah, you got all the pieces in the right place, and you've got this going on. All right, so Meredith, I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of talk about who you are and how everybody can take advantage of that awesome service that you provide for us.
Thanks, Amy. I took a bunch of notes and you just said everything that I was going to say. Thank you. No, but I work at UMaine. I've been in the financial aid office since 2003 when I was a work study student. But now I've kind of gone up the ranks as I got my degree and everything. But I do work with seniors, students and parents. And I am here to ask any question that you have, sit down with you. It's going to have to be virtually. We are doing all virtual meetings. Sit down and do the FAFSA with the student and or parent right from start to finish. That includes the FSA ID, which is your electronic signature, that both a student and one parent will need to have to sign electronically to submit the FAFSA to the colleges of your choice that you want to go to. So I'll be working with Miss St. Louis in the guidance office to set some dates and times. And then the students and parents would contact her and she'll plug you into that schedule. And so I also have 4 other schools. So I have Brewer, which I just did we're sharing a Google spreadsheet. So we have the dates and times. She sticks them in the slots with the name, the parent's name, and both emails and a contact number, because I understand that not all parents and students have internet access. So I can walk you through it on the phone if that is, or can't get on the internet for whatever reason. So I can walk you through that on the phone. So I'll be working with her to get some dates and times, and then you guidance will be putting that out for the students and parents. I am right in Orono, so it's nothing for me. It was nothing for me to pop over on lunch and help students and parents, but now where it's virtually, I can just pop on online and we can get that done, or just any question. So I'll give Miss St. Louis my email as well. So if you have questions, anybody has questions, they're welcome to email me.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Meredith.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, guys.
We appreciate
Thanks, Meredith.
You're welcome.
So strongly recommend that you take advantage of that service, because not every high school has that ability. So we are so lucky to have Meredith on our team to be able to help us, especially somebody who works in the field. There's always something, you know, somebody has rental property, somebody has, you know, additional income, and we all look at each other and go, I'm not really sure how we handle that. So she is that resource. Another person that we have with us to help is Amy Dow. She's not here with us tonight, but she works with us, again, funded by the Melmac Foundation, has worked in financial aid, so she can help with filling out the FAFSA. One of her big roles is working with students who don't necessarily know what they want to do or where they want to go to college. She's able to do some interest inventories with students, try to look at careers and majors and colleges to really kind of narrow down what students might want to go to college for. So if you have a student who thinks that they want to go to college but have no idea what they want to do or where they want to go, let us know and we can connect them with Amy, because she is a great resource for us as well. All right. So Kim, I'm going to kick it over to you. I will monitor the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in that chat. And as I can, I will interrupt these two and get your questions answered. At the end, we'll all stick around for final questions as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Aim. So I love when we do this every year, because it's my reminder that I need to do the FAFSA for my own children who are in college, because unfortunately we don't get out of it after year one or applying to college. You have to do it every year. Yay. So this is my indication to put it on my calendar to get that done. So just a heads up, this past Friday, Jamie and I had made a video, which is about 40 minutes long. We're not going to put you through the video that we posted for your students, but we did a video and recorded the whole kind of college process from soup to nuts, especially for those who are not taking our success class. We were able to get into Mr. Dooley's English 12 classes, but there's a whole lot of students that we weren't able to touch with that. So we decided to make the video this year instead of having these in-person senior seminars, which we usually do. So we made the video, we posted it. We actually sent the link to all of the senior class their Google School accounts. So they have that. We encourage them, like, if you're going to college, please watch this video. If you watch it with them, get some popcorn. It's a haul because it's a process. But you can also, we're not going to put you through the same thing, but if you wanted to go and look to see what your students are watching or watch it with them, that's a fun family night, you can do that. And if you have any questions after watching that, let us know. One of the main things is after we had posted that it's a requirement for students to watch that video. And then after that, they need to come to guidance to get their senior college packet. We have had some students trickle in, but there's a whole lot of students that need to come in to get this senior packet, which we set a due date for October 16th. So if you want to kind of keep October 16th in the back of your head, that would be awesome. And if you're not on Remind, which is an app, you can do it on your phone or through a website, send Jamie and I an email, and we can either, we can add you with a phone number or add you with your email address, whichever you prefer. But we will give kids updates like, hey, senior packets due, you know, the 16th. We bug them and try to get them to hit those deadlines, because one thing that we stress to them is once you're going into college and we're going through this process, deadlines become a really big deal. It's not a, you know, oh geez, you know, I didn't hand this in, I'll hand it in tomorrow. That becomes more of a problem in the college app process. So we're going to start out showing you the actual senior packet that we went through in quite a bit of detail with your students. We're going to kind of buzz through it and not give you the quite the royal treatment that we gave them. But we did want to show you what the senior college packet consists of, and I'll talk briefly, and don't hesitate to ask questions. Amy's going to monitor that, so don't hesitate. So this is the first piece of their senior packet. They're just going to kind of write their name. We ignore the mailing address, and they're just giving us a few ideas of where they want to go to college. Some kids have like nothing on there because they're not sure. That's okay. Some kids will have a bunch and then not apply to all of them, and that's okay too. It just gives us kind of an idea, so we just kind of have a general outlook on what they're thinking. So the next thing is super important, is their school, work, community activities. So this is for those parents who have kids in our class, we kind of call this their academic resume. So they won't fill this out, they'll attach it. But this is where they just kind of list all kinds of things from, you know, honors and awards, athletics, things that you were involved in, even hobbies and special interests. So things that we can use to write their letter. And that's really important to say. Everything we're showing you here in the senior packet, the only people that goes to is me and Jamie. So kids with the last names A through K, I will get these from them, and Jamie will get the kids with the last names L through Z. Colleges don't see this material that we're showing right now. This is solely for us to use to write a very personalized letter of recommendation for your students. So, all right, so the next thing is your students will fill out information for us. So these are some things that are on a more personal level. So college and career goals, what are your strengths, what do you enjoy, what do you like best about yourself, what are you most proud of, and then any information they would like us to include that, you know, maybe they didn't, I don't know, maybe they traveled to, you know, 60 countries, or maybe there was some big, like a struggle, you know, in their, you know, junior year where their grades kind of, you know, went down a little bit, that we can use that to kind of explain and create that as part of our letter. Colleges, it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to have, you know, some things that you're going through. They like to hear about that, and like to hear about how kids are resilient and have kind of overcome some of those struggles. So we invite kids to do that in that part. Some kids will get personal and some kids don't. Some kids will talk about, you know, my anxiety and how it was a struggle to come to school every day. Other kids might put something in there like they have like this really cool, bizarre talent that they just wanted to share about themselves that we can incorporate in their letter recommendation also. So we really try to personalize the letter recommendations. The colleges don't want to hear things that they can already read themselves. So with their transcript, they can look to see, you know, what students for classes got for grades. And, you know, we touch upon that in our letter, but we we try to pull in some of the more anecdotal personal things from teachers, from parents, to really create this awesome letter for your kids. So the next thing is your homework coming up is the parent brag sheet. So this is your chance to kind of give a different perspective. And sometimes kids roll their eyes and they're like, "Oh my God!" Like I can, But we love this because you guys know your kids best. So usually we only need one, so parents can kind of work together. If you feel more comfortable emailing us, just let us, you can email us this, little write-up. Doesn't have to be on here. But tell us about your student. What are some talents and strengths that you see? What are, some cool things about your kids that through your eyes, which that they might not talk about? So a lot of times we'll take things from the parent brag sheet and we'll quote them and put them and incorporate them in the letter. So we take these very seriously. Like I said, you have had them for 17, 18 years, so you have a very awesome perspective that we don't have. So that's really important. These are some of my favorite things to read, honestly. So the next thing is, so there's going to be 3 of these. They're the same things. These are what's called, we literally call them the blue sheets, and all the teachers know what they are, the kids know what they are. These are kind of teacher recommendations, but again, they only go to us. And again, kind of like the parent brag sheet, we use them for information to put in our letter. So your students know that these need to go out as soon as possible. We stress this. So teachers are getting these coming in from all seniors, so they want to really get them out there. Student will obviously ask the teacher, hey, would you mind, filling out my blue recommendation sheet for me? So they'll put their name, colleges they might be thinking about applying to, possible majors they're thinking of, and then the teacher will fill this out. And if you scroll down a little bit, thanks, James. So they kind of write their little recommendations, things that they see in their classes, and kind of rate them a little bit here. I will say one thing I want you to keep in mind, that when we write recommendation letters, we put the positive spin. All right, we take everything positive. So for some reason, if a teacher ranked as one of your kiddos like in the below average or average, I probably am not going to use that a whole lot. I'm going to take all of the positive things and we're going to spin it that way, to show we want to highlight all the awesome things about your students. So we tell the students also that these, so we have 3 of them. Definitely, if I was going into like a field such as like engineering or some kind of STEM field, I'd want to get a STEM teacher to write one of these, fill one of these sheets out. We typically recommend that students stay with junior and senior teachers. Not that freshman teachers aren't awesome, but colleges like to see some more recent abilities and skills come out. And teachers are awesome. They write some really, really cool stuff. And same as the parent brag sheet, we often take and quote and incorporate that in the letter as well. Another thing we tell students, if you're super close to a coach that knows you really well, that they could fill that out also. I'd have at least a couple teachers, and then they can have all 3 different teachers if they want, but they do have the option of having a coach or a pastor or somebody who knows them really well fill one of these out as well. And these are some things that, so before, that's really their senior packet, okay? That is what they need to turn in by October 16th. Again, October 16th is what you stress to them, and we'll hound them to death about that. So in order for us to write the recommendation, we need that letter. So if they apply to a college and we don't have that senior packet, we're not able to write that letter. Or if we're going to write a letter, it's going to be very uniform and not personal. So we can say the things that like, okay, they're going to graduate on this date. This is their class rank. This is their GPA. But we can't personalize it like we can when we get all this information. So you really want to stress by October 16th for them to hand this in. And what I mean by turning it in is they simply need to come to guidance, drop it off to Mrs. St. Louis, and she will make sure it gets to us. We don't need to be there to actually accept it from them. So some information. Mrs. Martell, do you want to talk about like this piece about this isn't the senior packet, this is just like information.
So this also comes in the folder that they get, but the rest of it is just resources for them. This sheet gives them information that they're going to be asked on their college application, and may not know off the top of their head, so I scrolled past it at the top, but like their graduation date and their class size, that code is just an identifier for Old Town High School. It will ask for their counselor's information, so that's on there. And then there's a couple of just reference sheets from Common App, which Kim will talk about Common App again in a minute, but it just gives them some information and a heads up, you know, what should you gather before you sit down to do your Common App, some tips and best practices. And then this one goes over the sections that are within Common App. So it's really just information for them to view to prepare. Also talks about how application fees work in Common App. And then we'll talk about SATs in a few minutes, but in that folder that they get, there is information on when the SATs are offered this year and the deadlines for signing up. Also ACTs, even though they're not commonly taken around here. We'll also talk before the night's over about the college application essay, and these are the prompts that Common App gives them for options, so they get to see those ahead of time. There's 6 specific ones, and then number 7 is basically write about anything that you want, so they can really fit whatever their essay is into one of those 7. And then this is just a resource. We really encourage them to know their deadlines. Kim and I know deadlines from the local schools, but there's so many colleges out there that we can't know all of them. So it's their responsibility to know their deadlines. Their deadlines are our deadlines. This is a process of staying organized is good. They don't have to use this, but we gave them a way to kind of keep track of deadlines and applying. And then, so it's just because this is a scan. So this is the brochure that or pamphlet that they were given in the packet that recaps everything that the video that we did went over. So all the senior seminar information is in the pamphlet that is in their packet as well, which we will basically go over with you tonight as well.
Perfect. So kind of the next step is, okay, here's senior packets turned in. How the heck do I apply to school? So there's a couple different ways that we talk about with the kids. Generally, if like a student, if they're more geared towards like, I am just going to apply, you know, I want to apply to one school, we're going to suggest that they go right to that school's website and apply for their on their online application. So like, for instance, like Eastern Maine Community College, they have an application that's online, probably will take 15, 20 minutes, and they're not required to write an essay. UMaine, if that is like the only school that they're applying to, I would suggest our advice would be to jump on the UMaine website, apply specifically to that to that school, use their online application for specific to their school. However, if a student wants to apply to say more than one like 4-year college, a recommendation is to use what you're going to hear called the Common App. It's the Common Application. And on the back of their pamphlet that they have, it literally is commonapp.org. Kids will go make an account, and it's kind of like a one-stop shopping kind of deal. So they fill out, and again, Jamie had showed a lot of their like just little tips and what that consists of. They'll put in little profile things, name, address. They'll put in activities, classes that they've taken. So they input all of these things, and then they're able to actually kind of just go and go, okay, add colleges. I want to apply to, they click like, I want to apply to UMaine, and I want to apply to Husson and UNH. And so they can just add the colleges, and all that information is just shot all of those colleges. So it's kind of one application, they write one essay. Jamie and I have a part when they're done and they actually submit their applications. We have common app accounts. We go in, upload the transcript, upload their recommendation letter, and it goes to all of the colleges that they put on their list. I will say that not every college is free to apply to. There's been a lot, things are changing every single day, especially with COVID. So some colleges that did charge like an application fee now aren't. UMaine, for instance, if you apply before December 1, application fee is waived. And a lot of colleges are doing things like that. However, you'll know as soon as when the kids go to hit submit on that particular school, a screen will come up and kind of prompt them either, there's an application fee or there's not. If there is an application fee and that is a barrier, please have your kiddos come see us, because we do have waivers that we can use that will waive those fees. So just, send us an email or have them send us an email and we can walk them through how to do that. And that's for anything, whether they're stuck on any, college essay, or, they get into the Common App and they have some questions. That's what we're here for. Have them send us an email and we'll walk them through it. We're hoping to actually have some Common App, like maybe work sessions or maybe some college essay work sessions where we'll be able to invite them and then kind of answer questions. But we can also, work individually with your student as well if they have questions, for sure. So, yeah, so that's kind of how you apply. And then I'm gonna put it over to Jamie and she's gonna talk about, okay, once you've applied, now what happens?
So students need to let us know when they've applied, because obviously we don't know without them telling us, and we can't do our part. So they need to come into guidance every time they've applied to a school. Sometimes students will sit down and do all of their applications at once, but typically they apply to one or two this day, and maybe next weekend they apply to a couple of more. That's fine. But each time they do, they should come into guidance and ask Mrs. St. Louis for a gold sheet. A gold sheet is where they put their name and then the school that they applied for. And it also has a section on it about if they want their SATs scores sent, which is a little different this year, but that is what signals us to do our part, and we won't do our part until we get that. We don't want our information submitted before their application. Their application should go first. So once we get the gold sheet, we upload their transcript and our recommendation, and Mrs. St. Louis also uses the gold sheet to track where students have applied and what's been sent out. And just each time they can come in and get another sheet. They don't have to worry about doing it all at once.
One thing I will say is just for students who are all virtual, that gold sheet, a couple of things. Either, we could leave them at the main office and something could be picked up, but I think the easiest way for the all virtual students to do the gold sheets, to let us know, is what I'd like you to do is, if you could, when you submit an application, if you can please immediately, your gold sheet is going to be emailing Mrs. St. Louis, is what I told kids, at sue.stlouis@rsu34.org. And they're going to email her and let her know, hi, my name is, Kim Ketch. Today I applied to Husson University and the University of Maine. And just let her know that. And then we can fill out the gold sheet, or she can fill out the gold sheet for you. because we need to be able to track that, because like Jamie said, that's the gold sheet is our indication that, okay, the kids have applied, like now we got to do our job and like send the transcripts and do the things on our end. If they don't do that, we have no idea. I keep looking for that like sixth sense, like I don't quite have it fully yet. I really want it. But if they don't fill it out, we don't know. So I just wanted to kind of put that plug in for those all virtual kiddos. So
they also need to do the sheet at least a week before their deadline, hopefully well before that. But if they happen to be cutting it close, we need at least a week, because we're working with so many seniors and have so many of these coming in that we need enough time to get their stuff together and get it uploaded. This time of year we work a lot, but we don't work 24/7. So if somebody turns it in at 3 o'clock the day before their deadline, we can't guarantee that we'll get it in time that night. So just something to stress for them, to make sure that they're giving at least a week. So after that step, we'll jump forward a little bit, and when they start to get their acceptance letters, they need to bring all of them in. Even if they're not sure where they're going yet, that's fine. As they get them, they should bring them into Mrs. St. Louis. She'll photocopy them and give the original back. Again, it's information that's tracked, and it's how they get up. I don't know how many of you see our board. We have a bulletin board and guidance full of seniors and where they've been accepted to college. That's how they get on that board. It is also how they're considered for our internal scholarships. So we have an internal scholarship committee. We are a fortunate school. We do have quite a bit to give out, but the minimum requirement is that you've applied to college, you're going to college, and we know that. So that acceptance letter is really important. Once they do know where they're going, they should let us or Mrs. St. Louis know as well. She'll signify on the bulletin board where they've selected, and then track the information, because some of our scholarships we award are specific to where you're going to school or what you're majoring in. So that's information we need to know. We also need to get financial information. So if the school that you're going to has awarded you money, scholarships, merit scholarships, sometimes it's on your acceptance letter, and that's great. We have it. If it comes in a separate letter, we need a copy of that letter as well. So they should bring that in. And then if students, which we encourage them to apply for scholarships outside of what may be awarded from us, if they do get a scholarship, they need to bring in verification of that, an email, a letter, something that says that they were awarded a scholarship. I don't know if any of you have been to scholarship and award night, that when they announce all of the scholarships that students get, that's how we generate that evening. It's because we were provided the information from the students, and Mrs. St. Louis writes a script and includes all of their awards. So if something doesn't get announced for your student, then it's likely that they didn't turn in proof of that. So that's very important. And I think she needs that by June 4th to give her enough time to compile it all for, I think that night's like June 10th, I think. So that is it on that piece. As far as
we're going to talk a little bit about the buzzword this year with college admissions. COVID has taken its toll, and the college admissions process is ever changing. Literally, we learned a few new things within the day that they haven't like rolled out to even counselors yet. I just happened upon some things by mistake, and Jamie and Amy have as well. So SATs, not all, but most or a large majority of schools have now waived the SAT scores as a requirement for admission into their school. UMaine is one of those, and Husson is as well. So UMaine used to be pretty strict with SAT scores for admissions into especially like engineering, nursing. They have waived those requirements, which is a huge deal for all of their programs. Husson as well have even some of their direct entry programs like physical therapy, occupational therapy have now waived those. again, which is a huge deal. They're trying to roll with the punches and understand that typically where we would have had kids take the SAT at school in the spring, a lot of kids didn't have that opportunity. And across the country, I mean, we were kind of blessed, if you will, in a way, that we were able to offer it in August, because across the country there are many states where they could not offer that. So that puts kids at an automatic disadvantage if SATs are used for admissions and so forth. One other thing that has come about is, for instance, Hassan, who is one of many colleges that would use SAT scores for merit scholarships. Merit scholarships are scholarships that they're legitimately based on kids' academics, how they did in school, their class rank, their GPA, what they took for classes. So money scholarship, it means here's money, you don't have to pay it back, here's some free money. We love that. Hassan is not using the SAT as a determinant for their merit scholarships anymore. They're looking more just at, again, GPA and what kids took. So that's awesome. UMaine, I'm going to cautiously say that they said they're not using it for their merit scholarships. However, we don't know yet. They're getting back to me as far as they have different tiers of merit scholarships. For instance, any student who goes to who is from Maine, who goes to UMaine, automatically gets a $500 scholarship or a $1,000 scholarship. It's the Black Bear Scholarship. So you go from like there to the top tier at UMaine, for instance, which is a presidential scholarship. And it used to be these tiers were determined by certain SAT scores along with their GPA, percentage of where they were in the class rank, those types of things. So right now, we're still waiting on some answers as to how those tiers are going to work, because we wanted to be able to give kids advice before the October 7th deadline. Do we tell these kiddos, like, yes, take the SAT again, or don't even bother, because it's not going to be factored into some of these things. And so I will get that out to students when I actually find out what their rubrics, if you will, for their tiers of scholarships. We don't have that information now. We're waiting for them. They're saying, I didn't like my answer that I got tonight, but they're saying that they're not using the SAT to determine those tiers of scholarships. However, they made a comment that if a student, for instance, is like borderline between, like, say, one tier or another, those SAT scores could possibly boost them into a different category. So I'm kind of getting both sides. So I asked for some clarification, which is supposed to be coming my way by next week. So as soon as we get that from UMaine, we'll send that out. If students are applying out of state, again, we don't know all the colleges. There's too many to know. Go to their website, and hopefully they're fairly transparent. And this, like I said, this is a big buzz situation right now. So if a student like a UNH, I could go to their website and look under undergraduate admission requirements, and right there they should state whether the SATs, like, are they requiring it? Are they not? Are they used in merit scholarship? If there's any questions at all and your student has a hard time finding it, send them our way and we'll help them navigate, and we'll find out for them. By all means. Sometimes things are kind of buried in websites too. So absolutely send them their way. If a student does want to take the SAT, they need to sign up through their College Board account. If they forgot it, they can contact us. We kept those because they're teenagers and sometimes they forget things. We keep them on file, so we can even help them signing up. Again, another plug is if the cost is a barrier, please have them come see us, because again, we have SAT waivers as well that will waive that cost for them. And Ms. Martell pointed out that in their packet, they have dates for the different SAT dates. We're hosting one in November. Bangor High School tends to host on the other days, the other months. But if they need help with that or have questions about that, like, don't hesitate. They can, send them our way. And that's kind of my SAT spiel. Do you want to talk about recommendations a little bit, Ms. Martell?
Yep. So oftentimes we get asked about our letter. Students get curious and want to know if they can see the letter. Our answer is typically no. Common App will ask them to waive their right to see their letter. It is encouraged that they do waive their right. If they don't, it's sort of like an immediate red flag to the college that they're curious as to why, because that's typically how a recommendation works, that somebody sends an honest, unbiased letter to them without the party reading it. So colleges prefer they waive their right. We encourage the students to waive their right to see it. Once they do, then Kim and I are ethically and professionally bound to follow that. So that is why their answer, including when parents ask, the answer has to be no. Part of that is, I'm sure you've all seen in the news over the years when people have, threatened or bribed admissions officer or counselors to get help to get their student in. We just need to demonstrate that these letters are accurate. We do stress that, I think Kim mentioned it already, that these are always in support of your student. They're always positive. We write them to help them get into college. So they should not worry about what's written in there. I've never had a case where I couldn't come up with positive things to say about a student. But if there were ever a situation like that, we would have a conversation with the student and the parent. But all the students have strengths that can be shown in the letter. So that is the answer to that. It's also important to note that a lot of scholarships need a recommendation from us. We utilize the same letter and tweak it. So again, that's not something that can be seen, but we can help by, they can bring in their scholarship application material and we can send it out with our letter for them. Or if that's not possible, we can seal our letter. There's a seal that has to be signed, so it sort of like a tamper seal to show that it was a sealed letter that has gone out with the scholarship. So
one thing that I didn't say that I just want to plug really quickly is when kids apply, after they hit submit, because this is where I'm at right now with my own son who applied to grad school. It's like we're just waiting. I'm like, did you get anything yet? Did you get anything yet? So to relax you guys, and we have to talk some students off a cliff. It takes some time. Expect that it's going to take a good month after you applied to get a response back. Oftentimes some of the competitive programs like the nursing, engineering, like UMaine, like their deadline's December 1. They're not even, sometimes they won't even, like for those majors, they won't even look at the applications until after that deadline. Then they look at them as a committee, and then there's some discussion. Another thing, sometimes kids who apply later get an earlier, get their response back earlier than somebody else. So the kids are freaking out like, oh, like they got it. This is a huge busy time for admissions. So they're, doing some college tours. They're doing some college fairs. It depends on, sometimes this sounds weird, but it depends on who's in the office at that day. If it's one person, it's going to take a while. If like there's a big committee of admissions counselors, they'll plow through them a little bit quicker. And what happens is when students apply, of course, life would be lovely if it just goes to one spot. But all these things go to you know, go to like kind of a central processing center, and then, all right, you know, this goes here in my transcript. So it takes a while automatically, and because again, I'm kind of glad that I had my own kids go through this, because as a parent, I'd be freaking out, and I kind of did, even though I was in this position. But now I can help you to not freak out. When they hit submit, sometimes within a day or even, you know, right off the bat, the students will receive an email that says, we're missing your transcript, we're missing this. Well, of course you are, because you just submitted, and the counselor hasn't had a chance to get those things out there. So we try to remind, and usually, like I said, we have to talk them off the cliff a little bit, that relax, it's okay. Like, we sent it. A lot of times things go like this in cyberspace. So they send it, they fill out the gold sheet, we get that. Now we go, okay, we need to send their transcript. So we send it, and they're getting a letter saying they haven't received, you know, this, that, or the other thing. Yeah, so it's not unusual to have things take, you know, a month, sometimes 2 months, which is so super hard for kids, because they're super excited to start getting those responses back from colleges. If we're worried, we tell kids, if we're worried, then you start to worry. You know, if it's been a month and we haven't heard anything, sometimes, you know, we'll shoot an email to the college to say, hey, just making sure you have everything, you know, where are you at in this process? But again, it's once we send our stuff, it's in our hands, and sometimes the kids, we're the immediate people, so they're like, why haven't, and it's like, I know, it's so frustrating, but I promise it's not us. This is kind of their process now at the college level. So I mean, if you guys have any questions or whatnot, try not to, like, you know, try not to freak out moms and dads, but you know, shoot us an email. But typically, I don't, like, a month and a half, 2 months is not atypical to wait to hear, unfortunately. So, and some are super quick. Like, I was super surprised at a couple, like Hassan last year had some really quick responses, and we were like, holy cow, like they're on it. Who knows, with COVID into play, they may be really wanting to get those acceptance letters out sooner versus later. So, and kids have typically till, you know, they have some time to choose their college, so that's not an immediate decision. Wherever they apply, you know, and we can help you, you know, discern and figure this out, but you know, how to compare some colleges, how to compare their financial aid packages that they send to you. Sometimes people dismiss going out of state, but all of a sudden when you look at scholarships offered and such, it might be the same as going to UMaine. So to not dismiss that right off the bat without getting that information first.
So I just have a couple of things to stress. So as Kim said, her kids have applied to college. She survived this process. My kids applied to college. Yeah. I survived this process. It is hugely intimidating. We know that. So please reach out if you have questions. We are happy to help. I just wanted to stress a couple of things. One, you know, once they hit that submit button, they need to come and tell us. The majority of colleges don't send us a letter and say, hey, so-and-so has applied, please send us their stuff. So if they don't come and tell us, we have no way to know that they've applied to college. So if you are getting those letters, you know, several weeks after they've submitted, chances are we don't know that they applied to that school. That's happened frequently. The other thing is,
as parents, you ask them, the first question you're going to ask them is, did you fill out the gold sheet and guidance? That's your number one question.
The other thing I want to touch on, and Mrs. Martell talked about it, is the recommendations and the deadlines. The University of Maine deadline is December 1st. If your student applies November 30th at 6:30 p.m., we are not going to make that deadline for them, right? Or, and The counselors have done this in the past. They'll write a letter, but it's not going to be the best letter they could have ever written about your student. They need time to be able to produce high quality letters. If you want your students to shine, they have got to give the counselors time to be able to write their letters of recommendation. That means they're turning in their senior packets on time. That means they're giving that week lead time between the deadlines. So you really should have it in their heads that University of Maine deadline isn't December 1st, it's, you know, November 23rd. Back those deadlines up and really work on with your students. They have to have time. If you want them to have good supporting material, those letters don't write themselves. You got to give your school counselors time to do that. So please work with them on those deadlines. And in some cases, it means missing money. You know, historically in the past, if you applied on December 2nd, you missed out on merit scholarships. And that was a hard deadline. And one of them said it earlier, their deadlines are our deadlines. We have to have our supporting materials in on time to support their applications.
I will say as well, although, you know, SAT scores are being waived, deadlines aren't. So your kids really want to pay attention to, again, like some of those competitive programs like nursing to engineering, to double check to see if there is a deadline, because that's another case where if the deadline to apply is December 1 for the nursing program, and you turn something in, if the students turn something in December 2nd, they might get a letter that says, thank you for your application. We've accepted you into UMaine, but not into the nursing program because we didn't get it in time, and it's a very competitive program. But you can apply next year for that program. So again, and we told the kids this, deadlines now become extremely important. We don't want them to miss out on getting into a program that they want because it was a day late. So.
Also encourage them to schedule their meeting with us. We want to do senior meetings with every senior at least once. Sometimes they're just a few minutes if that's all they need. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes we do several, but we need to meet with them at least once to see what questions they have and see what their plan is. It's also okay if they don't know what they want to do. If they know they want to go to college, but they don't know where and they don't know for what, that's fine. We have resources. Miss Dow, that Amy mentioned earlier, has resources to help them. But it's also okay to apply undecided if you know you want to go, but you just don't know yet. So don't let that be a barrier to moving forward.
And it's also perfectly okay to, we have amazing community college systems where oftentimes if students don't know what they want to do and want to explore and just get some kind of, all right, I just need to transition. I know I want to go to college, but that's a nice step in between and cheaper because they could go to a community college, get their feet wet at, say, Eastern Maine Community College, get, you know, all of those kind of general ed requirements, figure out what they want to do because they all have kind of their own student services and career services that will help with that as well. And then transfer to a four-year college. So there's multiple ways to get to where they want to go. Yeah.
So, and Kim, EMCC has also waived their SATs, correct?
Yes, and they didn't. Yes, they weren't heavy on it anyway. A lot of times they use their SATs to place kids into what classes that they need rather than admissions. So, yeah.
All right. So we'll stick around and answer questions. It's been pretty quiet on the chat. Several of you have messaged me directly, so I've tried to answer those. We will put the recording out for anybody who wants to rewatch and just kind of have another chance to hear. We will also get you guys the link to be able to see those documents that Kim and Jamie shared earlier. We'll share those with you guys. Strongly encourage you to ask your kiddo if they saw the email that Kim sent last week. and have they watched the video, and have they come picked up their senior packet. So we've got one tailored to them. They're welcome to watch this one, but the other one definitely has more kid-specific information.
And please don't think that you're bugging us. We're parents. We get it. We know. Email us. We'll get back to you. We'll answer your questions. You're not bugging us. Yes, Julie. Absolutely. That's a great question. Julie asked if UTC teachers can get a letter of recommendation as well. They're an awesome resource. And some of your kids have been there for 2 years, so they really know them well. So absolutely. Great question.
All right, so if anybody wants to stick around and ask questions, you can. If you're good to go, I am gonna stop the recording at this point. Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it, and please reach out if there's something that we can do to help.